everybody, and welcome back to another weekly edition of Timeout Talks, which is brought to you by Chase and Thrills Custom T-shirts and accessories. It's sponsored by the Ice Shaker and also sponsored by Make It Mac. You can buy your custom Timeout Talks apparel via www.chaseandthrills.com or on Instagram, Chase and Thrills. And you can purchase our Ice Shakers at www.iceshaker.com. 15% off all Timeout Talks. In caps, no capitals. Don't worry about that. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know we'll get some stragglers down the line, but just a lot of games on the surface here to talk about. We've got the Buffalo Bills being hindered again, not being able to get over that hump. We will talk about that. Ben went 4 for 4. I mean, that was something I was thinking about. So Ben's predictions were all right last week. So, hey, we'll want to see what he thinks for the AFC and NFC championship games, which we will preview for you guys. We will give you our predictions. We'll hear your predictions. We're going to get to the Celtics' first home loss. And they were 20-1, Ben. Or they were 20-0. Okay. They were 20-0. I re-looked that one up. But yeah,
I see.
We'll get to that.
I messed up.
No, we're good. We're good.
I'm going to blame Scal. I'll blame Scal a little on that.
We've got a huge trade, or some we can debate whether it's huge or not. Interesting trade, former Celtic going to the Miami Heat. We can talk about that a little bit. And of course, we're going to review and recap the NFL divisional round. Lots of stuff to buy into. The Detroit Lions getting their first appearance to the NFC Championship in almost 30 years. Just a lot to break into, Ben. But let's first start off with the NFL divisional round.
Yeah, we'll start off with the Bills. I want to get to these guys. These guys stink, Josh. I don't know. I've been hearing about this, and I'm still a little upset. I was hearing a lot of trash talk against the Steelers. The Bills were supposed to win that game against the Steelers, so I don't want to hear how they killed us, yada, yada, yada. They did their job. But I was still a little surprised they were this big favorites. Everybody thought they were supposed to just win this outright just because they were at home. This Josh Allen's never beat this Chiefs team, in the postseason. He's never cleared that hurdle. So I was kind of confused on that. I was kind of confused why everyone was just putting, Mahomes and them aside. I know the lack of weapons was pretty apparent this year, but you still got Kelsey and you still got Mahomes, surpassing Gronk and Brady for the most all-time passing touchdowns from two players together. So just passed them. They got 16 now. Brady and Gronk were at 15 postseason touchdowns. So thank you, Denise. It was close. Thank you. I appreciate that. But no, I just, like Josh said, I appreciate that too. The 4 for 4. Hit a little Chiefs money line too. So I had to back that one. But I was just surprised everyone was just, wasn't giving the Chiefs, that fair of a shot. I knew it was going to be a close game. So I was just kind of surprised why everyone was on the Bills so much. And they just proved it. They just, wide right and just countless mistakes. Josh, I'm going to hit this one. This is the easiest one. I'm still kind of confused at this. I think everyone knows where I'm going with this one. The fake punt. To DeMar Hamlin, out of all people too. He doesn't even have that many reps this year. Obviously, comeback player and all that. Candidate. I'm not going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to Joe Flacco, obviously. But still, I don't get that play call out, Josh. It was a strange play call. Someone is definitely going to lose a job on that staff because of that. And I'm looking at Sean McDermott a lot different too right now. So I'm looking at Jared, Josh. I'm looking at Jared and Bills Mafia and saying, what's next? What are you gonna do? This was it. You got the older team than the Chiefs. You're at home. Everything's paid for you the right way, and you still can't get it done. So I'm a little confused on what's next for the Bills. So makes me a little happy for the Steelers fan in me, but just Bills Mafia has a lot more questions now than answers. So Bills and Jared, I gotta hear from them. I gotta hear from them now. They're a little radio silent, Josh. They were talking a lot against us, so I want to hear from them now.
100%. You mentioned it perfectly. This is what we talked about. They got that number 2 seed. won that first playoff game, got the hobbled, injured Chiefs at home. They finally got them at home. They even got a late break in the game with that touchback. A lot of things went their way in that game. As James mentioned, I didn't even realize a lot of depleted Chiefs players on the defensive side of things. They lost a couple guys. I mean, Tooney might be up in the air. There was one of the linemen for the Chiefs is up in the air for this AFC Championship game, which could be a huge impact for that game. We know how important it is to protect Patrick Mahomes, let alone any quarterback. But again, I mean, the main thing that comes to mind with everything you've said, everything that I watched, is wide right. I'm not putting blame on Josh Allen. I'm not putting blame on Stephon Diggs. I'm not putting sole blame. I mean, there is a lot to blame for Sean McDermott, so let me hold off back there. But it just seems like it's the same thing over and over again with the Bills, similar to my Cowboys. I mean, very similar paths. The Bills, of course, they got a playoff win, so I'm not going to sit here and bash them and criticize them and say that we're completely similar because they have the better quarterback, they have the better team. We know that. But they're both in similar situations where they just can't get over the hump, Ben. And I think where it's more tough for Buffalo Bills fans is the fact that they've never actually won a Super Bowl. I've never seen a Super Bowl for my Cowboys, so again, this isn't a slander the Bills moment here. But again, it gets tougher on the cap. These guys are aging. I mean, Stephon Diggs, I don't know what's going on with him, but if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan / somebody within the organization, I don't want him coming back. I mean, that drop he had at the end of the game, he's asking for the ball more. Clearly they were trying to give him the ball more later in drives. It just wasn't working out. I know everybody's going to talk about him putting his hand up across the flat, but again, it just seems like overall with the Buffalo Bills, they cannot get it done. And the Chiefs are kind of the big bad bully of the AFC when it comes to the playoffs. The regular season and the overall matchup-wise, they're both 3-3 versus each other. That was Game 7. The Bills unfortunately didn't take that. But as you mentioned, Ben, at home, everything on the line, very depleted Chiefs who the confidence level of everybody felt like this was a bad Chiefs. And I feel like they've kind of been able to run and take that, on a good side for them. That's kind of been their motivation, their bulletin board material. Excuse me if you want to give that to them. But if you're the Buffalo Bills, you're Josh Allen, you're a Bills fan, you're not feeling good about their chances right now. And as you mentioned, their future gets a lot harder moving forward. Luckily, they do have number 17, Josh Allen, who I'm not going to give him trouble for that loss. Yes, he's grouped into it as a team. But I'm not going to look at that loss and say, that's on Josh Allen like I would for the Cowboys game with Dak. It was a snowball effect. The defense couldn't stop. I know they got that stop at the end. They didn't capitalize. But again, it seems to me like it is a Buffalo Bills problem. They need to figure it out. And to be completely honest with you, Ben, this AFC Championship game, I haven't even decided who's going to win. I'm coming onto the show live right now. I don't know. I'm going back and forth as we speak. This is going to be a real good one, Ben.
Oh, I like it. I think this is the best matchup. No offense to Bills Mafia and everything. I just like this, Ravens Chiefs matchup. Got the old guard, obviously, as Josh has mentioned about the Chiefs being the boogeyman and the AFC. I mean, Mahomes is 9-0 in the wild card and divisional rounds in his postseason career. Hasn't lost a game, so that's kind of a wild stat. It kind of surprised me a little. I don't know how I didn't know that one, but hasn't lost at all wild card weekend or divisional round. So, and then the clear favorites. I think the Ravens. Just seeing the Bills get depleted alone. Obviously, the Chiefs get depleted in that game. Ravens withstood injuries. They still got all their main guys. Obviously, Mark Andrews went down earlier in the year, but Isaiah Likely has filled in more than fine. He's played more than the role, obviously, in that Texans game, having some huge plays and having the touchdown. For the Ravens, I think they're just the healthiest team right now. So I think that's why it just lets them into it. But this Ravens Chiefs matchup is going to be great. But the Bills, I know you said no. I know you weren't giving any blame to Josh Allen. I'm going to give him a little. And I don't know. I guess I'll throw the offensive coordinator in the bus too. But I just don't get why he's taking those shots at the end. Obviously, the big one is on him, but I don't know why he's going to Shakir. I'm going to give that one to Diggs. I mean, he's wide open. You just got to hit him over the flat. That's an easy play, Josh. That's an easy play. He's got to hit it. He's going for the home run ball. He doesn't need that. They're down by 3. Josh Allen needs to play that safer. Just hit Diggs over the flat, get a first down, and just keep going. But he took the shot, and you see what happens. And they had a little scramble the next play. He just couldn't decide on anybody and didn't get any yards and didn't set up Bass any better than he could have. And they didn't do him justice with the graphic either. They put up the graphic. He's 9 for 9 in those under the 2 minutes, in game tying, game crucial games. They jinxed them too. You just knew it was coming for the Bills. Just typical Bills mafia, as Denise pointed out, 4 Super Bowls, 4 losses. This is just the Bills' way, unfortunately. And as Josh started to point out as well, it's just unfortunate. It's just the Bills have this little losing culture right now. Been for a while. So hopefully they can shake it, but I don't know. Josh started to go through it, started to go through it all. I mean, Diggs is probably on his way out. He doesn't look too happy. You really just want to keep, as long as you have, 17, you're going to be good. So I think some of these other key pieces are going to be going. Like I said earlier, they're the older team than the Chiefs, so they're going to have to rebuild. And that Josh Allen contract is going to affect them. They're going to affect the cap. I think they were -40 before the year or something. So it was just they're going to have to lose some players. Gabe Davis obviously isn't coming back. Jared's made that point clear a couple times. I've seen that one. Like we just said, I mean, Diggs might be on his way out. You never know. I didn't think he was going to be out of Minnesota as fast as he was. And look at that. So, Diggs kind of just moves at his own pace sometimes. So, for the Bills, it's going to be a different roster, different script next year. We're just going to see Josh Allen just adjust. But the Chiefs proved everybody wrong. They just counted them out. And as you said, Josh, I mean, they're just going to use that as motivation. I think Josh is going in this a little unclear. I think I got my pick. I think I know who I'm going to pick on this one. So I don't want to give anything away, but I just want to leave it on that one.
For sure, Ben. It's the same thing for the Bills that it is with Dallas. As you mentioned, we're both in cap hell. They're in way more cap casualties than we are. It's something that they need to make very, very smart decisions in this offseason. They've got some gaps. They've got, as you've mentioned, a lot of players moving on. As you mentioned, too, Gabe Davis, probably one of those guys going to move forward. What do you do with Diggs? He's still eating up a lot of money. Do you trade him to try to get out of that salary cap and just to move on from him? Another question, too. How is Josh Allen without Diggs? Once Diggs got there, we've seen the emergence of Josh Allen. Again, I think he's going to be fine. I think the Buffalo Bills will be always somewhat in contention in that division. I don't think that the window's closed. I'm not freaking out like everybody else. But I am going to agree with Ben on this part. They just can't seem to do it. And once they do it, then we can talk about them. The only fact that I'm going to talk about is I'm not counting them out completely. They're not in the dumpster. They're not going to be the Jets. They're not going to be, the Cleveland Browns of many years. And they're not going to go back to the Bills, when they lost 4 in a row. And it's like, oh, you got to wait another 25, 30 years. That's not going to happen. They still have Josh Allen. I know Ben mentioned it's going to be tough for them to pay guys, for sure. It's the National Football League. They'll figure it out. They've got a good young core there. They still got some decent young players on that line and defense as well. I do like Shakir, but as you mentioned too, I don't see him as the number one. I do think he stepped up in some moments in that game, but I'm not over zealous if he's my number one going into next season. But again,
it's a little strange,
why.
Josh. Yeah, it's a little strange. I don't know why everyone was going crazy. He made a great catch and whatnot.
For sure.
And everything, but I think they need to relax with that. When I saw a couple texts saying
he's calling people out.
He's just gonna fill in that number 2 role. I don't know about that. So yeah, I think those Bills Mafia guys, Josh, they get a little too excited. It's all right. Listen,
Ben's happy. He's loving it.
I liked. I'm loving this, Josh. Just nice prediction, just nice win. And Bills Mafia got it. Listen, they can throw all the snowballs they want. I'm still just a little bitter, but now we're all hanging out in Cancun together now. We're all hanging out. We're all on vacation. You can hang out with Rudolph, Gak, and me, and Josh. So it's whatever. It's whatever. But it's gonna be some big problems for them going down the line, and hopefully, well, hopefully, I don't care if they figure it out, but I think as
Oh,
long,
Ben.
yeah, I think as long as they have Josh Allen, they'll be fine. Josh, like you were pointing out, they're always going to be in contention now. The Pats are kind of dwindling. Jets will always kind of be the Jets. We'll see what this Aaron Rodgers experiment can finally go off, but Dolphins are going to be in contention too. But Bills are going to be around for a while. It's just, can they rebuild? Is the next question.
Oh, for sure, for sure. We've got some people here in the comments. We've got Erin all fired up about the Ravens. She's got them in that helmet challenge. We'll get to a little bit more with the Ravens and their picks. Denise also taking the Ravens for this weekend. As Ben mentioned, we're going to save ours. We still got some plenty time left in the show. Let's see if we can get Scooby in here for a quick little Bruins moment a little bit later. Denise wants the Lions, and that's the team that I kind of wanted to talk about here. The Detroit Lions, I mentioned them briefly. I mean, they finally did it, Ben. They finally put on for the city of Detroit, getting that win. Jared Goff doing what is necessary. And again, this is somebody who has won in that we've seen him not win in the Super Bowl, but we've seen him take them to the Super Bowl, that being the Rams. He's leading this Detroit Lions team, and which a lot of people, including myself, was, just kind of a bridge guy, just going to kind of move on, not really excel the Lions, but he has done a phenomenal job, Ben. I mean, he's not a Josh Allen. He's not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not a Lamar Jackson. But he's still in the mix, similar to Purdy, where these guys aren't, they don't have the incredible athletic intangibles, but they know how to manage games. They know how to put their teams in the right situations. And if you look at the NFC side of things, as we've seen on the screen there, the graphics of the 49ers, this is going to be a doozy, Ben. This is going to be an interesting one. I think you've got to feel that it feels like we're brewing up for some type of rematch with the Niners, whether it's the Ravens or it is the Chiefs. But this Detroit Lions team, Ben, they are gritty. They bite kneecaps, as Dan Campbell mentioned, and they don't go away. I mean, I know that the Tampa Bay Bucks and everybody wants to say, oh, well, the Packers are a little more tougher team than the Bucks and yada, yada, yada. But this Detroit Lions team fights. And what I saw from that San Francisco 49ers team was a little bit of rust. So, I don't know. Detroit Lions, they're kind of playing with a little bit of fire right now. They kind of got the underdog thing going for them. 7-point dogs going into this weekend. Some people had the Bucks winning last weekend as well. I know a lot of people, which we've been posting more on our TikTok, had the Bucks over the Lions, which was pretty surprising. We had over 350 votes. So TikTok is the place for our polls.
Baker. There we go.
Yeah, they liked Baker. Unfortunately, Baker didn't work out. But Ben, what's your thoughts on the Detroit Lions so far? I mean, they've made it further than the Dallas Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Jared Goff's not like these elite quarterbacks, but I mean, he's a former number one overall pick. He's got the talent. He just kind of got a little lost in the translation a little, obviously, with the Rams. That was just kind of a tough Super Bowl, 13-3, kind of not the best one for his sort of tape. And they just wanted to move on from him. He kind of just, like I said, just got lost in translation, sent him over to Detroit, and they kind of just forgot about him. But I mean, he can still play, Josh. I mean, to give him these weapons. I mean, Amon St. Brown. I mean, he's just unreal. Shout out to him too, giving me that bet with him and Mike Evans plus 150 yards. Shout out to St. Brown and Mike Evans for that one. But no, I mean, you got Josh Reynolds emerging too. Obviously, Jameson Williams still, still lingering, still coming back from that injury. But I mean, he still hangs around out there. He still catches some balls for him. It's not too vocal in that offense, but he'll give you a couple of big plays. And obviously, Sam Laporta, Rookie of the Year candidate, he's just a vocal part in there as well. And I mean, the biggest part for this Detroit Lions team, which is one of the reasons why, Josh, I think, I'm pretty high on this Lions team because of this reason. I mean, he just showed up last night. He's been showing up at the little in the second half of the season too. I'm in a couple fantasy leagues, so I saw him. Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs had that huge run. Montgomery's still there, so he still got that 1-2 punch, obviously. But I mean, Gibbs was just explosive against the Bucs. Just provide them with some great first downs, just great momentum. And you saw what Aaron Jones did against that 49ers defense. So I mean, if you get some of those big gashes, some of those big runs, just kind of weaken that San Fran D. They looked exposed a little, Josh. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch that whole game. I didn't watch that whole Green Bay Niners game. But I watched a little highlights, and that defense, I don't know. Jordan Love was picking them apart. Jordan Love and that Packers team too, Josh. I just want to say, I gotta give a little shout out to them. Obviously, kind of ended in a pretty bitter note. Had some couple bad plays. Jordan Love missing a couple third downs, but I really like that Packers team. That NFC North is going to be a huge sort of showdown, I believe, between the Lions and the Packers for years to come. Because I'm a big believer. Last week I was kind of hating on Jordan Love. I was just kind of hating. Hey, was it kind of a fluky one over the Cowboys? Everyone kind of rallies up, plays their best game against the Cowboys. You want to beat them up. You want to get that glory. But no, he proved that a lot to me against his Niners defense. So I got to give him a little credit for that. And I think that Green Bay team has a bright future ahead. Got some great players over there: Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft. I finally remembered one of the tight ends' names. I'm blanking on the other, but they got a nice couple tight ends over there. Obviously, Jones, Dylan combo at the running back position. So Jeff coming in there should have won that game. And there we go. That's a big debate. We could debate that a little too, but the over for that game, 50, what was they say, 50 for that Lions 49ers game. That's a big over. I don't know about that one. I might take that. But he's getting me off track. Josh. But no, for the Lions, I'm gonna give them a shot in this one. I don't want to give my pick too much away, Josh, but I'm really liking this Lions team. I'm kind of down on this 49ers team a little. I didn't like what I saw. Brock Purdy. I don't know. I don't know about Brock Purdy, Josh.
And it's pumping the brakes. I think a lot of people are with.
Yeah. And I just admitted that, Jeff. I said I didn't watch the game. I watched the highlights. So he's got to pay attention.
Ben getting snippy.
He's got to pay attention. So I watched the highlights, Josh. I got the analysis. That's what you do. You got to watch the game film. But yeah, I was just impressed. Brock Purdy missing those throws. I don't know. It's just, we're lucky you got Christian McCaffrey. I'm just telling you, got Christian McCaffrey, got all these weapons over there. Obviously, Debo going down isn't going to do him any favors, but I don't know. I felt like, McCaffrey kind of carried that game, and obviously Greenlaw's huge interceptions. That defense just came up with some huge moments. Yeah. It just, I hate to go off on the guy, Josh. I hate to always give him discredit. He's had a great season and everything. He's gonna be good. He's a good quarterback, but I don't know. Brock Purdy did not look good to me in that game, he did not do any favors for himself. I don't think so. It's gonna be interesting to see this one, but I give Detroit a shot. You're gonna see it later. You guys are gonna see it later.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple comments coming in here. As Denise mentioned, I was kind of touching on this a little bit earlier. The offensive linemen couldn't be more important during these games. We've got Rob, Jeff, Packers should have won. All aspects of Green Bay looked great in that game. Couldn't agree with that anymore. I mean, as Denise also saying there, win for Barry. I mean, they're playing for Barry. They're playing for themselves. They're playing for Dan Campbell, who I'm blanking. I believe it was Greg Olson. I think he was on the coverage for that game. I could be completely wrong. Whoever was on the coverage for that game, it's escaping me. Somebody was saying gets that slot. That I think it might have even been Chris Collinsworth. I think they said all praise to Dan Campbell, who has really corralled that team and just brought this Detroit Lions to another level. I mean, I didn't think that it would be the Detroit Lions in this NFC Championship game. I know that we felt it would be the 49ers. With a collision course of either Dallas or the Eagles. Both those teams fell off. The Lions did what they had to do. Even fought through conspiracy in Dallas in a game that determined the number 2 seed pretty much. They got screwed, and guess what? They dealt with it. They still got 2 playoff home games. And hey, now they're in the NFC Championship game. And as Denise mentioned earlier, any given Sunday, this is a tough Detroit Lions team that, again, we saw it a little bit later in the game with Baker, but the secondary kind of showed some fits for the Bucs as well too. I know everybody was kind of attacking them, saying, "Oh, this Detroit Lions team, this secondary's not good. It's the Achilles heel. It's this, it's that." They got a turnover early in the game. They were able to kind of gain momentum. This is a very poised playoff team, and they're playing for Dan Campbell, Ben. I couldn't agree with you any more on that. I couldn't agree with anybody else on the sentiment of the Detroit Lions earning their flowers. This is a young, fun team to watch, and as you mentioned too, that NFC North is going to be fireworks for years to come. With Jordan Love, you got Aiden Hutchinson, Christian Watson's a great player as well, Jair Alexander, we've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, who's finally getting it going there for the Detroit Lions. But again, so much to kind of pick from those games. We're going to give you more in-depth analysis on the National Football League, American, the AFC and NFC championship games. Had a little tongue twister there. Both of those games we will get to a little bit later. But we're going to take a quick little diversion here. We're getting towards the end of football season, so we're going to give you as much football as we can. But it wouldn't be fair if we didn't talk about the Boston Celtics, who, again, I know I'm going to have people in the chat say, "Oh, they dropped their first home game. It was going to happen, but they won last night." And you're 100% right, because I was going to come in here and talk about it. We talked about it last week. We talked about how they're undefeated at home. I felt it was only right we talked about them dropping their first game in what could be the NBA Finals matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics. A lot of people kind of feeling that. It was a quick little allusion to what we will be seeing later in the playoffs and later in the year come May and June. Ben, I'm going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. I liked what I saw out of the Boston Celtics last night. Good game. Jaylen Brown putting Luka on the floor. Got that good win on the road. Tough stretch here for the Boston Celtics. I want to throw that out there, people. But they did what they had to do, beating the Dallas Mavericks on the road. And I'm just going to say this right now. I was never overreacting with that Nuggets loss. They were going to lose a game at home. It was bound to happen. Arguably the best team in the league. They drop it to the defending NBA Finals champions, the Denver Nuggets. It happens. Jamal Murray had a crazy game. Tough ending. Jokic did his thing. It's a tough ending, but I'm not too worried about the Celtics. They're going to be right in the mix. And one thing that makes it a little bit more interesting, and we're actually going to be having a nice trip to Miami soon, is the Miami Heat just traded for a familiar face in Terry Rozier. They shipped out Kyle Lowry and a first-round pick, I believe. A future first-round pick. I could be 2025. Somebody wants to check me on that. I can check myself too. But I'm still not worried. I'm still not worried about the Miami Heat. I still think that the Celtics are in the driver's seat. And it's still the Milwaukee Bucks. That's the one team I watch out for. As wild as that is, because they just fired their head coach today as the number 2 seed. So wild day in the NBA. Celtics got that win last night, but they did drop their first home game. They're going to be fine. We're fine. Number 1 seed. As long as the playoffs come through Boston, Ben, I'm feeling good.
Yeah, we're looking good over here. It was great. Great win last night. Listen, always good to beat Kyrie. Listen, I don't hate him either, but it's always nice to beat Kyrie, especially in Dallas. And hey, Grant Williams getting a little block from Tatum too at that halftime. He was trying to check up that half-court shot, but Tatum gave him a little stare down after the block. Nice to see Grant over there too. But I was just impressed with Tatum and Brown taking over. A lot of these role players have been having some great games. Obviously, Pritchard stepped up earlier. Derek White's had 3 straight 20-point games. But Al's had a couple moments here and there, especially with Kristaps being injured. So it's nice to see him getting some minutes and getting back into the rotation like that. Getting some more valuable minutes, I should say. But it was just nice to see Tatum and Brown just sort of take over a game, and especially with guys like Luka. Luka went off, 33, kind of ruined my parlay, but didn't want to. I'll throw that one in there. Especially with him and Kyrie. Kyrie had a couple. He was a little streaky last night. He had his little hot streaks and whatnot, but we kept them in check. Brown and Tatum did their thing, so I was impressed with that. I'm just impressed with this team, especially with Kristaps being out, controlling the boards and just playing great defense as we always do. We controlled these high-powered offensive teams like the Mavericks, so I think everything just went according. This is a great start to the road trip. Josh mentioned, we're gonna obviously just lose the game at home. It's nice to just get that out of the way, and everybody knows that Tatum had a little rough ending to that game. But it's the Nuggets. We're going to be in some classics like that. As Josh pointed out, one of the best teams in the NBA, if not the best team. We're right up there with them. I think it's either us or them. So, one of the best games you're going to see out there in this regular season so far. So, not too bad. Not too worried about that one. But yeah, I think Devasa points out. That's a fair question. Obviously, the 71 points last night was kind of scary from Embiid. Embiid in the Sixers team could be a problem, especially Tyrese Maxey. Stepping into just sort of that Robin role, taking over for Harden is just as soon as he got out there, just boosted his minutes. I mean, Maxey's playing like an all-star. Tobias Harris too. He's regaining his confidence. He's just finding a better groove in this offense without Doc Rivers, or finally figuring out how to use him correctly over there. So those guys are playing like all-stars, and when you got Embiid doing what he's doing, I mean, like I just mentioned, 70 points, kind of crazy night for him. I haven't seen that in a while from a big man. He's just so dominant, especially against us. That is a little worrisome. That is a little worrying. Because this Kristaps injury, his injury concern does bring up some red flags right there. It's a little worrying. You don't want to go against the 76ers team without him. You want Kristaps there. We need everybody against Embiid. So that is a little worrying, but for the Celtics team-wise right now, I think we got the best roster we can. I think we got the best roster in the East. Josh, a little more scared of the Bucks. I don't know. The Bucks, yeah, listen. I know they fired their coach. It's obviously just, I don't know how reliable Jeff's sources are. Jeff let us know that it was firing because he wanted to trade Giannis's brother. I'm not sure how reliable that is, but I don't know. Probably is. Probably something to do with it. But the main purpose was, Giannis just didn't like Adrian Griffin. So, if Giannis doesn't like you as a head coach, you're probably going to be out there soon enough, even if you're 30-13. So, but yeah, I think right now Celtics are looking great, but I'd be a little more scared of the 76ers, Josh. I think of the Bucks right now. Just Embiid's playing out of his mind right now. I don't know if we have the answer for it.
Yeah, right. I mean, as you mentioned, this is something that we've talked about on the podcast for a while now. The center depth, the center position for the Boston Celtics has been very shaky. We're rolling out Luke Cornett. Like, I can't get over it, Ben, because I know championship teams. I don't like Luke Cornett against a situation like you just mentioned, like a Jokic, like a Embiid, or a Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, heck, they could even be in the finals for all I like. Anthony Davis too. Like, I know we have Al Horford out there, and he's he plays great defense, very good defense on guys like Giannis and company, but I'm just I don't know. I want them to make a small move. It doesn't have to be anybody big. It could just be just I don't know, a big man who plays defense, gets under the paint, and is a little better than Luke Cornett. That's all I'm asking for, because as you mentioned, Al Horford plays great minutes. He has a great contribution to this Boston Celtics team. Those 6 points, those 4 points, those 2 points that he's going to give you, whatever it be, 15 to 2 points, he's going to give you impactful points. They're going to be very meaningful points. He always changes the game. We'll never not say that about Al Horford. But, again, you have to move forward. He's getting older. You need a little bit of, we have a ton of guards. We've got the good forwards. You can mix and match Jaylen Brown and, Tatum. You've got Porzingis out there, if he's out there for the playoffs, which I think that they're pacing it pretty well. I mean, there are concerns. I will answer that, Jeff, and I will say I am a little concerned, but they're pacing it decent for him. But, again, the depth for the center is a position that they need to figure that out, because it's something that bothers me. You don't have Grant Williams anymore. I know everybody loved him, but again, you need guys who can play defense better than Peyton Pritchard or Luke Cornett, these guys who are going to be getting big minutes. I would rather Peyton Pritchard have minutes than Luke Cornett. I don't know. I think the Celtics are going to be fine, Ben. As much as I want to sit here and say, like, my eyes, how do I word it? Embiid caught my attention the other night, but I'm still shooing him away because it just feels like we are the big brother to the 76ers. I can't get on this podcast and say I'm worried about them. They had a chance to beat us last year and they still couldn't do it. We were still too much for them to handle. We're running away with the standings. I mean, I think the Bucks are a little bit better in terms of the standings. I think they're the number 2 right now. And again, something about the Bucks with Dame Lillard, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo scares me more than the 76ers. I think Embiid's going to fan out. These big guys, especially him, putting it all on his shoulders. Tyrese Maxey's a good player as well, always gives us fits. But I don't know. I can't sit here and say that the 76ers worry me. I'm not worried as a Boston Celtics fan.
I'll give it a little worry. I'm going to be a little worried against them. I don't know. I think it's a little different 76ers team, and that was just a good question. I'm still thinking about that Pritchard Cornette question. Who are we going to give more minutes to in the postseason? Pritchard did get eaten up pretty badly in that Miami Heat series. He's had a great season so far for us. Clutch games, great minutes for what we're trying to get out of him. But I do forget Jimmy Butler and all of them. We're going pretty hard against them. In that Eastern Conference Finals last year, they were killing them pretty bad. So I got to remember that. I got to hold that back. And just good points from you on that. It's just Grant Williams, guys like Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, even. Rob Williams, even, some of these defensive players, sort of more defensive-minded players aren't here. So some of these other guys, like the Pritchards, the Cornets, they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to get some more minutes. Jeff's got a big staff for us. No, I didn't see that stat, Jeff, but I'm sure he's got something good for it about Embiid playing teams above 500 and below. So I'm sure he's going to throw that one in there, but listen, I still get a little scared. I'm still a little more scared of them, of the 76ers over the Bucks. But wrap up all this too with that Terry Rozier one. I'm still not scared of the Heat. They're still at the bottom. I think they're still number 4 behind those big 3. But that's a great move for them. I think that's a great move. That's going to keep them in contention. Because Kyle Lowry was it's pretty much done, Josh. Kyle Lowry, we can get him out of here. Terry Rozier averaging 23. A little fresher face for that team. You need a little more energy on that team, sort of energize that team. So I love the move. I don't think it's going to do anything for the Heat, though, Josh. I think they'll still be number 4.
I agree with that. I mean, looking at them right now, it's so similar to what they were last year, and I'm not going to be that guy who says, they're 7th right now. They're 23-19. They're fighting. I mean, they're the East. Aside from kind of the big 3, I'll say of the big 3 being the Celtics, Bucks, and the 76ers. There's a lot of stingy teams. I mean, you look at the Pacers who just made that trade for Siakam. They're in the mix. The Miami Heat as well. The Knicks, I mean, they make noise. They've won a couple playoff games. I'm not afraid of them in terms of us, but I just think those teams, they're all kind of scratching and clawing for that 4th team. Who's that 4th option? Who's, going to be in the 2nd round? Who's going to, give teams all that they can give? But there's just something about the Bucks that scares me more than the 76ers or the Knicks or the Pacers or the Heat. I know everybody with the Heat and the stuff, but I think the Knicks. I kind of just
he's always throwing the Knicks. He loves the Knicks.
I just threw them in there. I mean, Julius Randle's all right. I'll throw him in there. Ben doesn't like. Yeah, shout out Stephen A. But I don't know. I can't get on the 76ers wagon. I won't do it. I can't do it. I don't know. Call me a hater. I just they haven't beaten us. They will not beat us in the playoffs, and I like something about the Bucks. I think the number 2 seed. I know it's the most predictable, but everybody with the Heat, I don't see it with the Miami Heat. I think we're gonna be fine. I think that's an aging team. I know Jimmy Butler's gonna turn it into 7th gear by the time the playoffs hit, but again, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about Damian Lillard, and I'm worried about Giannis, even with the head coaching fire.
Yeah, as Jeff said, Jeff was joking around with that. Listen, I knew it was a joke, sort of. I just wanted to make sure. Obviously, yeah, it wasn't because he wanted to trade his brother, but Giannis just didn't like him. Giannis did not like Adrian Griffin, didn't have vibe together. And I got his text too about Joel Embiid. Yes, Joel Embiid averages 47 points against teams below 500 and 24 against teams above. His points are his stats are pretty inflated against teams below 500. So that's a good point, but he's still averaging a double against teams above 500. So I don't know, Jeff. I don't know. I still think he's a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, I'm still gonna go with the 76ers. Scariest. He'd separate the pack, separate themselves from the rest of the Eastern Conference. Pretty much just us four, Josh. And the Pacers. This is kind of deeper than I thought. The East is getting a little deeper, Josh, than I thought. So I gotta give it. I'll give it the. I kind of forgot about the Pacers. But I'll still put the 76ers up there. Don't like Embiid.
I like the juggling back and forth.
Yeah.
Hey, who am I going to put? I think it just goes to show it's deep, and it's just that nobody has grabbed. I'll use a WWE reference here. Nobody's kind of grabbed that brass ring for the 4th seed. I had to be corny. Nobody's. Yeah, Ben's like, what? People are like, what the hell is he talking about? Brass ring. But nobody's grabbed that brass ring. Even Romo, who's looking at me right now, trying to play, he knows it too. But we got to move forward here. We'll come back to the Celtics. We'll get back to the Bruins, who quickly, I made the graphic. We'll put the graphic up. The Bruins, 5-game win streak. I said this, a couple weeks ago, that they had a tough stretch coming up down the line here. And hey, guess what? They've done a good job. They've won 5 straight. Swayman looking phenomenal. Ullmark, he's hurt. He's banged up. Swayman's been unbelievable in net. Going to the All-Star game. So quick shout out to him. Pasternak as well. These guys are doing what they got to do. Brandon Carlo coming back. We're getting re-upped. We're getting rejuvenated. And trade deadline, March, not that far away. I want to see what the Bruins do. Do they stand pat and just say, hey, this is kind of a bridge year for us. Next year they're going to have more salary cap. Do they just chill? Do they say, hey, we think our team can make a nice little decent run? Or do they throw their name in the hat and get a little antsy like they've been at the trade deadline and make a move? Either way, I'm okay with it, because I feel like the Bruins are in a situation where you can win either way. What I mean by that is you can make a run without making a move, or you can just sit back and wait.
Yeah, I think they're in the perfect position. Like you just say, it's just with them being so young. I mean, nobody really expected them to be at this position yet, and we're exceeding all the expectations. So great win against the Jets. A very hot Jets team, 9-1 in their last 10 games. Nice little win for them. Like you said, Swayman's been standing on his head. Yeah, Tyler. Yeah, I agree with that one too. Yeah, bridge year. Let's just run it with this team. Why not? Let's just run it. Let's see how far we can go. Let's see what we can get with this team. I don't want to mortgage any of this future yet, just for this year, because it's just too unpredictable right now. So let's just run it with this team. Let's see what we can do. I like the youth, and you never know. Bergeron might come back. Maybe some rumblings. Bergeron might step back, and they never know. Hey, he's just hanging out. We could use him. But
it's the first I've heard that.
Just a little rumor. No, I think it was just a little joke rumor. Somebody said it. I mean, I saw in a group chat here or there somewhere. I don't know how credible it is, but probably not. But you never know. And hey, Krejci did it.
Could be. That's where he beat me to the punch on that. I doubt it, but hey, always would love to have our former captain back. You gotta throw it in. You never know. But I agree. I think I don't think that they make a huge trade, or like we went out and got Hampus Lindholm a couple of years ago. I like their core. I think, and hey, a lot of people didn't expect them to make this run. They'll be fine. Expectations are, win a playoff series, make it competitive. I think that they could do a little bit more than that. Maybe go to the conference championship. Maybe even go to the Stanley Cup. Maybe win it. Hell, we don't know. The expectations, the pressure isn't as high as it was last year, and maybe they'll flourish in that situation. With that being said, the expectations are very high for both of these two teams, Ben. It's that time. We're going to be giving you a little bit more in-depth analysis on the games, and we're going to be giving you our picks. Sunday, 3 p.m. CBS. The Baltimore Ravens are at home. They've got their wish. It all goes through Baltimore, Maryland, who is the number 1 seed. They will be taking on the number 3 seeded Kansas City Chiefs, who have wowed most people, me and Ben. Not Ben last week, but me and Ben, 11-6, 13-4, -3.5 spread here. This game is on CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Ben, break it down for me. I mean, what do the Chiefs have to do? Because it kind of feels like, we see the spread here, -3.5. We know that they're going on the road. We know that they're depleted. But it's wild to think, last year, this is the defending champions. What did they have to do to beat the Ravens, who are the favorites in this game?
I just got to, before this too, I see she slipped that comment in there too. Listen, probably once my statement on the Mike Tomlin, I was a little heat of the moment comments about Mike Tomlin. But eventually we do have to move on. Let's just leave it at that. We do have to eventually move on. Maybe not right now, but eventually have to move on from Mike Tomlin, just like Belichick. But the Chiefs just got to do what they did last week. Just got to use Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Josh. They just got to keep using Travis Kelce and just focus on him. Like I said, just passing Brady and Gronk for the most combination touchdowns in postseason history between two players. These guys are just so dominant together, and it just opens up guys like Rasheed Rice. Opens up that running game, which we need. They desperately need. You saw that come crucial at the end of that Buffalo Bills game. Pacheco just running all over people. He does kind of run a little strange, but he's just a powerhouse where he's running. And that just opens up so much more options for those guys. Because like we've seen through this whole year, the Chiefs don't have their regular options. They don't have their regular weapons out there. They got to improvise a little. MVS has got to keep making those catches. Patrick Mahomes has to keep getting out of that pocket, just evading that pressure. Bills are just blitzing him constantly. He's just got to keep making those plays, and these guys got to start catching it. MVS had a great game.
Huge game.
You saw what happened. Yeah, and you saw what happened. When the ball hits you in the chest and they catch it, hey, look what happens. You get some stats for you. That's what the Chiefs were missing all year. And they finally got in that Buffalo Bills game, I think. I think they got their little swagger back, Josh. I think they're feeling good. So that's what I think. I think the Chiefs just got to utilize Kelce. Just make him the first priority, then everything else falls in line. Because this is a little better Ravens team, a little better linebackers, a little better secondary. Even though I got to double check on the Kyle Hamilton status. I don't know if Kyle Hamilton is playing or not. Still might be a little banged up. This Ravens defense is a little scarier than the Bills defense. No offense to the Bills Mafia. Well, that's your offense. I don't like either team, but rub the salt in the wound a little, Josh. But this
Keeps
Ravens defense, you gotta keep doing it. But it might be a little healthier too, Josh. Right now, just technically, the Ravens defense a little healthier, just playing a little better. Got that week's rest. They're gonna be ready to go. So. For the Chiefs, just get that ball to Travis Kelce, get that ball to him, and everything else is going to fall in order.
100%. And hey, he went out, did what he had to do for the Kansas City Chiefs last week, and it's kind of like they took a little page out of our recipe, what we talked about. We talked about this last week. They leaned on Pacheco. They got a lot of yards off Pacheco. First down. It felt to me like the Buffalo Bills, similar to the Green Bay Packers, what they did in Dallas. The Chiefs got off to a hot start in first downs, leaving these short second and third down and threes for them to just deke and dunk their way right to move the chains. That's what they need to do against this tough Baltimore Ravens defense, as you mentioned, Ben. They're loaded on the linebackers. They're loaded on the secondary. And not to mention they've got one of the best run-stopping defenses in the league. Number 92, I can never pronounce his name. all over the goddamn field against the Houston Texans last week. This is going to be a battle within the air attack. I really think so. We've seen Lamar excel this year, getting guys more involved in the passing game, which has been a huge, huge criticism of myself. And as James, I'll throw him in there as well. But it seems to me, I'm going to use that recipe that I did for the Buffalo Bills. It seems to me like this is in the Ravens' lap. You know, the whole logo conspiracy and the fact that they're the number 1 seed. The Chiefs have done this before. Super Bowl hangover. It feels as if all the momentum is riding on Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. And on the other side, the pressure is falling on Patrick Mahomes' back. As you mentioned last week, guys like MVS, Marvez Valdez-Scantling stepping up. You know, they need impact players like Justin Watson, the Noah Grays, those no-name guys. Kadarius Toney, I don't even know if he's going to suit up. But the Rashee Rice, what's his status? Is he going to play in this weekend? Huge, huge, huge for them. Their offensive line, how healthy are they going to be? You know, we know guys like Chris Jones. This Chiefs defense, I believe, can make things a little bit difficult for this Baltimore Ravens team. But again, it's going to come down to which quarterback is the better passer and which quarterback doesn't have more pressure. With that being said, I'll give my game prediction for this one. I like the Baltimore Ravens, and again, this is something where I've gone back and forth. You know, I want to really say that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to go in here and win. They've got that veteran leadership. You know, they've been to how many? This is their 6th straight AFC championship, where this is Lamar Jackson's first. It kind of feels like he's still got to get over that hump. But I think this will be the year, as we've talked about in a while. And this is no knock on the Ravens at all, but I feel like they're the better team. I don't feel that they're as injured as the Chiefs as well. I think the Chiefs, it's just you're asking too much of Patrick Mahomes. I think the Ravens are going to do a great job of negating Isaiah Pacheco, who takes a lot of that pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. I like the Ravens in this one, a 27-20. I don't think that they're going to roll them. I think they're probably going to cover the spread, but a one-score game is a close game. And again, don't hold me down to that spread, but I like the Ravens. I feel like they finally get it done, Ben. And it seems almost as if you mentioned perfectly what I was going to say. It felt like the Chiefs were kind of beaten down on a bad Bills defense and an underperforming Bills team in general. I think that this Ravens team is going to come ready to shine. They just beat up on a magical Houston Texans. I'm agreeing with Tony here. I like the Baltimore Ravens to get this done.
That's a tough one. I'm going Chiefs. Josh.
Wow.
I'm going Chiefs. We're going to ride it. I don't know. Something about this team. They're going to use that motivation. They haven't been the underdog in quite some time.
You don't want to take his division rival, too.
I
respect
I don't want
it.
to take the Ravens either. I'm not going to take the Ravens either. I know she just put in, a nice, the world wants a Ravens-Lions matchup, but that would be great. I mean, to be honest, Josh doesn't like the Ravens-Lions. I think that might be a rematch, too, of an earlier game this year. That's not that bad of a one. I think all these matchups would be good. Kind of all these, any of these matchups would be good on these with these 4 teams. I think we got the 4 best teams we could get, but I'm gonna go Chiefs. I'm just gonna trust Mahomes. I know the Ravens just, what you said, just beat up on that magical Texans team. They were, the Texans. I didn't think they were gonna get beat down that bad. It was close first half, and then kind of just ran away from them a little. I think the Ravens just asserted their dominance, showed how dominant of a team they've been this year, deserving that number 1 seed. But I think Mahomes is just going to put on a performance, just much like he did in that Buffalo game. I think he's going to prove to everybody that why he's, the best quarterback out there in the league. People kind of forgot about it. You got Burrow, you got Allen, some other, Dak and Hurts having some great years. And I think he's just going to assert himself back into the discussion, just, being the top guy right here with this performance. I'm going to go Chiefs 30, Ravens 27. Close one.
Wow. Chiefs cover. Actually, no, you got the Chiefs winning, so the Chiefs would cover that spread anyways. I mean, this game, Ben, it's going to be a good one. It's going to come down to Patrick Mahomes is near perfect last week. And if there's any quarterback who can do it and go in to Baltimore, a hostile environment, I mean, they want to go back to that championship, Ben. It feels like all the chips are in. This is their year to do it. It is Patrick Mahomes. He could very well do it. And that's why it was kind of up in the air for me to choose that one. I lead Ravens. It makes it even better for our content. However, interesting matchup here. I know Charlie is probably going Lions. He wants that Lions team. This Lions team will be traveling into Levi Stadium, 6:30 Sunday on Fox. Number 3 seed versus the number 1 seed as well. A lot of people didn't think the Detroit Lions were going to get here. They're here now, Ben, and they looked pretty good last week. I mean, we talked about them a little earlier. I think that they have to utilize the running game, as you mentioned. I know that this San Francisco 49ers team, they're loaded all around. I mean, we could be here till 8 o'clock with me just naming the list of players that they have on offense and defense. But we saw the Packers do a pretty solid job of running the football against the San Francisco 49ers, taking a lot of that stress off of Jordan Love. What we've seen this whole season from the Lions, what do they do well, Ben? They have a great dual running back game. I know it's super frustrating for fantasy owners, but they get the job done when they can run the ball effectively. If they can limit the turnovers for Jared Goff, keep it very similar to the system that they've been running, bank on a Purdy interception, tighten up that secondary of the Lions, and get some pressure on that offensive line, who is a little shaky for the Packers, for the San Francisco 49ers. They could make this an interesting game. Not to mention Debo might not be playing. They don't know if he's going to be suited up or not. Even if he is, he's not going to be 100%. It seems like there's always something there. McCaffrey had the weird groin thing in the back. I mean, the injuries could unravel in a second in this game. However, I'm gonna go quick here. I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers because I've said from the very beginning, we can pull the tape, we can say he's a liar. I've said that they were the best team in the National Football League, and I said that they were the best team in the NFC. I said it was going to be tough for my Cowboys to go in there. It was going to be tough for anybody to go in there. Lions, you had a hell of a run. I respect them. I think that this game is going to be very close, Ben. I think it's going to be closer than that spread as well. 7 points, little disrespectful, and I think kind of similar to the Chiefs' motto, Lions are going to take that into account. However, San Francisco 49ers have one player on their team who can change the game in a second, and he looks great, and his name is Christian McCaffrey. He's going to score 2 touchdowns in this game again. I think they're going to get the job done. They're at home. That horn's going to be revving. I think this Lions team is very close, but they're just not there yet. I think that secondary is going to be a tough battle. It's going to be asking a lot of this Detroit Lions team. I think that they're making strides in the right direction, Ben. And I think that this, similar to the Ravens, even more for the 49ers, they put all their chips in. They traded for Chase Young. They made all these trades. What did they? Didn't they go out and get Jonathan Allen? No, they didn't get Jonathan Allen, but they went out. They traded for Chase Young. They're just stacked everywhere, from Fred Warner to Dre Greenlaw to Lenore, who's been very good on that secondary. I don't want to take up your time, Ben, because I want to leave you with a few minutes here. We can even go over, but I like the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to copy your sentiment here. Something about the number 30-27. I think it's going to be somewhat of a high-scoring game. I like the Lions to cover the spread, but unfortunately, we will be seeing 2 number 1 seeds in the Super Bowl. I just think it's too much to ask for the for the Lions, and I think the 49ers will be heading to the Super Bowl.
You went basic. You went the number ones. Again, we're gonna have to differ. I'm gonna take the Lions. Take the Lions in the upset. Yeah, I mean, that Packers tape really exposed them. I think the Jordan Love missed. There was a couple of key crucial, third and 2s to continue that drive. He missed. They had it settle obviously for the field goal. Instead of a touchdown. One of them, and obviously just leading me up to Oranges Carl, just did not work out for them anyways. Obviously Love's 2 picks did not help anyways. But I think Jared Goff's not going to lead them to those mistakes. I think this Detroit Lions team it's on sort of a path of destiny, Josh. I don't know. I'm just getting this sort of day. I know we were just hyping up Dan Campbell a little earlier in the show, but I just think everyone's really rallying around him. He's got this team locked in. Everyone's ready to go. Everyone's believing them. As you mentioned, the 30 years for an NFC championship. They've waited a long time for a playoff win too. They're kind of just knocking off all these sort of barriers. I think the Lions just got the momentum. Listen, hey, I guess that's not a bad prediction from Cam. Lions winning the Super Bowl. But I got Lions Chiefs, little rematch of the Week 1 opener, Josh. The first game of the year where the Lions upset the Chiefs. A little crazy one right there. I know everyone's got their conspiracy theories. The color coordination, everything. Maybe it's a little conspiracy theory too. Sort of a sprouting right here. Two teams have met first game of the year, but I got something about this Lions team. I think the Packers exposed, gave a little pamphlet on being that defense. Obviously, with Aaron Jones just breaking through for a couple, you just gotta get that run game going with Jahmyr Gibbs. They got weapons on the outside with St. Brown, Reynolds, Williams. Obviously, you got your go-to guy in Laporta. I think they got the recipe to beat them. That defense is just playing well. I mean, you got Aiden Hutchinson who's just causing havoc. As we mentioned, that secondary kind of was getting talked down to a lot. They kind of stepped up big against the Bucks, picking off on Mayfield's Gardner Johnson, having a nice little day for himself. So I mean, they got some players out there. So I'm gonna go Lions. Lions Chiefs, Josh. Little strange one. But lock it in.
Wow, Ben taking two dogs here. Interesting. I mean, hey, well, the Detroit Lions finally get it done. We'll be back next week to talk, recap all this stuff, all the National Football League drama, the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game as well. Me and Ben different. I mean, hey, it makes for a good story. Either way, hey, may the best teams win, and this is what they all play for, is to make a trip to the Super Bowl. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. As always, I'm going to turn it over to Ben, and I don't got much to say. I'll leave it on this note. I think it's going to be, the conspiracy theorists are going to go insane. It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens and the 49ers.
I love it. I love it. It was when those conspiracy theories go off. There's always good ones right there. They've been pretty right with that color one for a little. But yeah, I just want to echo that from Josh. Always thankful for everyone tuning in, leaving those comments. Robbie Betts, remember that. McCaffrey, 2 touchdowns from Josh. Hopefully Robbie Betts can remember that one. Josh said that one, so we'll try to remember that one. In camp 2 with that Lions Super Bowl champ. So hey, Campbell, we trust. We definitely do that. But appreciate you all for that. And like Josh said, I think we wrapped up everything right here, and I'll just leave it with this. Lions and Chiefs, lock it in.